This video I really wanted to talk about attachment because I feel as like, especially right now in a moment, I feel like this moment in my life is very pivotal because like next year, around this year, like my whole life is gonna change, and I've always been a very attached person ever since I was like young. It's very hard to like let go of things for me, and it could be the smallest of smallest things, and I would still find a way to make that small thing into a very emotional and sentimental idea in my head, and then like ingrain it in my head and just hold on to it, which is okay. Like, it's great to appreciate the like small things in life, but if it's like very extreme and it goes out of hand, that means then that's like causes distress. Attachment is like, you can cherish something and love it and hold it, but attachment is the definition of that, but like way more extreme. Like, it's extremism, and that's how I interpret attachment. I'm cherishing it, but the more and more I cherish whatever it is, the more and more I grow attached to it because I'm romanticizing it in a sense, and that causes me distress and it makes me suffer, which is what I want to talk about in this video. Attachment is the root of suffering, and this quote, I think I 100% like think it's true. I grew up in a very Buddhist household, and my whole family like taught me Buddhist teachings, principles, morals, values, and I was raised on those values very strictly my whole life. So I was very surrounded all my life with these same concepts, and I believe in them 100%. And some of them are not like, even like, I'm just saying this because I'm Buddhist, and you know, it's a very central saying, attachment is the root of suffering. It's a very common like theme or noble like truth, you know, and so that's why I'm just like putting it out there, because I've always lived with it my whole life. Like, I've always heard the saying, and my parents talk about it too, and my grandparents. But I think with it, I apply it to real life, it's very hard to apply it to real life because it's very hard not to get attached, especially if you're a very overly emotional person like me. It's very easy to get attached and very hard to let go. With that concluded, like, it's also very universal. The saying applies to basically the whole humanity. The more you want and the more you like desire, the more suffering you're gonna endure, is also what is the saying is trying to say. I've never really thought about it like I did until now, because for the longest time I was like, yeah, that's true, but I never went in depth because I was like, okay, yeah, that's true. Like, materialism, like if you have attachment to all these materials, then you're gonna suffer because you never can find true happiness within materialistic things. But it can also be literally anything, and that's why I've been thinking about the quote more lately, because of how it can literally apply to any instance in life. It's not just materialistic things that's bad to be like attached to, but also like people, memories, etc. So I really want to talk about my attachment with literally everything. Like, I often find myself going back to the past moments and kind of just, I don't know, like in the moment I know I didn't live in the moment, but when I look back a couple years later or a couple months later, I look back at like photos, or I think back to that one time, I'm like, remember when? And then I go into a deep dive of like how I felt, what I did, who the people I talked to mostly during those times, and I want those times back, even if those times were literally the worst times of my life. Even if I was like going through the worst things in my life, I feel nostalgic about it and I want it back. And it's kind of like, I don't know how to say this, but it's being so wrongfully attached just because it was the moments I had and the moments I lived, but that's the only reason why I'm attached to it. I'm not making the most out of today because I'm always thinking about what I did the day before, or what I did the week before, or the month before, or a year before. So I think that's a very big weakness that I have, and I'm constantly stuck in a loop of just being so attached to the past that I can't appreciate the present, and then I keep cycling that. So in the moments that I'm like creating memories, I'm thinking of how my future self would react to the moment my present self is living in, if that makes sense. Because I know once that moment or memory is over, I'm gonna be reflecting on it like a week from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, etc. Like, so that's also like not living in the moment, because living in the moment means that you're like presently there, like presently mentally there. But for me, I'm always either thinking of the past, which is why I can't enjoy the present, or I'm just thinking of how sad I'm gonna be once the moment is over, instead of actually enjoying the moment while I have it in my hands. If I were to give an example of how like small the events could be that I grow attached to, would be probably like, for instance, like first period, I am attached to that classroom, and even if I have literally no one to talk to, and no one in there is actually like my friend, like, but I still grow very attached to that classroom. And I'm like thinking of like how I once sat in that seat by the window and walked in the room, how I walked in the room, like how I took my notes every day and how I would do my assignments. And I think it's just the fact that I know I will never have that moment again, and I will never see these 35 other people I'm in the classroom with. Even if I never have spoken a word to many of them, I still feel attached to them because of the fact that fate like brought us together at a same place and the same time. And to me that's just so sad, because I don't know what it is, because I don't know how to explain it. Most of the time, like, I don't think any of us will like really cross paths again or never meet again. If I were to give another example, on the top of my head, like this certain person from, like, say my math class in freshman year, I never spoken a word to them, but like all I know is their name, but I sat behind them and their actions and their, like, I don't know, like conversations with their friends, and I just observed that like in a genuine manner, and they, you know, like seem to be so human, in the sense that they're so pure and just so like human. They're human, and just like literally pure, like transparently pure. I still think about them and I'm like, wow, like they don't know me, but that's not what matters. What matters is that like we were literally in the same place, and I wonder like what they're doing now or how they're doing now. So with the people I have made like a certain bond with, it's obviously harder to let go. For me, if I'm already very attached to a person I've never talked to in my life, I'm gonna be way worse attached to a person I have like talked to, interacted with, created a bond with, and you know, like their presence played a role in my life. Elementary school friends, like even if I wasn't the closest with them at all and they still have contact with one another, I don't know, like I just really like to observe how they're living life now, and I mean, obviously, like, if we're like 9 years old and now we're like 16, we're gonna live different lives, right? But it's just very interesting to me how sometimes we can just walk past each other without saying anything or even like noticing one another. But at one point in our lives, we didn't know each other. So it can be stuff like that. I don't think in my life I've created a lot of bonds or a lot of like true connections with people. 16 years of living, I've really created any meaningful like human connections besides like my mom. Like a childhood friend I had, and she moved to a different state, but I'm still very invested in her life, and I know like she's probably definitely not, but I'm still very invested in like how she used to be when she was younger and how she is now, and what her morals look like, what kind of people she surrounds herself with. And yeah, like I don't know, I think the problem with me is that I just grow attached to people or just things in general because I know the concept of forever doesn't exist. Like nothing can be forever, and that's just so hard for me to grasp because I can't grasp the concept of never. Like, what do you mean we're never gonna meet again? What do you mean we're never gonna blank blank? You know, I think that's why I grow so attached to things, because I just can't accept that everything is temporary. That's what I wanted to really like kind of talk about on my like attachment is the root of suffering type of thing. Thank you for listening, and bye.